There once was a ship that put to sea, and the name of the ship was the Belly of Tea. The winds blew hard, her bow dipped down, oh blow me bully boys blow. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. She had not been 2 weeks from shore when down on her a right whale bore. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take that whale in tow. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Before the boat had hit the water, the whale's tail came up and caught her. All hands to the side, harpooned and fought her when she dived down low.
I got other stuff in the way.
And welcome everyone to session 1 of Skull and Shackles, a Pathfinder 1st edition actual play of the adventure path, Skull and Shackles. We are here, and I'd like to all just take a moment of silence for the 5th player that never actually existed. The moment's done, and we're gonna move on. But as is tradition in all of our actual plays here on Darewolf Gaming, we're gonna go around the table. We're gonna have everyone introduce themselves, and then we're gonna have a brief intro by none other than yours truly, Darewolf. I'm going to lay and set the scene for our crew, I suppose I could call it our crew. But let's go Atomic, Blau, Zeb, and Patrick. Take it away.
Everybody, I'm Tommy, the living salt pile, and I'm glad to be here. Gonna be playing. We going over names, going over characters, or
Yeah, who are you playing?
yeah,
Don't give too much of a description. Just who are you
playing? The wonderful dastardly bastard of Holland Blackmane, and it's time to rob some people and keep it all for ourselves and not give it to the poor.
Good man, Bosky.
Hi, everybody. I'm Blau/Joe, and I'm playing Caius the Kinless, which isn't actually his last name. I just had to have one because the server looked weird without it. Doesn't have a last name. He's Kinless.
Hi, everybody. I'm Zeb. I'm going to be playing Edward Tarbos, and I'm just so stoked to get back to it.
I'm Patrick. I play Wakir Twice Drowned, and so we're gonna have some fun. And I'm actually wearing a shirt that says "Yay, let's be a pirate!" Yay! Instead of not wanting to be a pirate.
That is ironic. If nothing else. Of course, I am Darewolf, the Game Master, and it's been a bit of a hectic day. So in advance, thank you for bearing with me as I stumble through my words. But with that being said, each of you recalls a night of revelry. For one reason or another, you had all found yourselves in the capital city of this sort of loose holdings known as the Shackles. Now, the Shackles itself is a group of islands that is somewhat protected by a massive, never-moving hurricane just to the north. And there is a capital city known as Port Peril, which is sort of in the northern region of this group of islands. But you found yourselves in Port Peril, and perhaps you had been crew on a ship, perhaps you had traveled there as looking for adventure, perhaps you were just down on your luck, but this rambunctious crew of pirates from this ship known as the Wormwood had rolled into town. They had gone to this establishment, this bar, known as the Formidable Maid. And they'd started buying drinks for everyone. They were talking about how they'd had the best run of their careers. They had sacked dozens of merchant vessels, and they were ready to just spend it all. They wanted to share their good fortune with their fellow buccaneers. And being as down on the luck as you are, perhaps just looking to have a good time, you had followed these crowds of people. The revelry, the music, it was loud, it was boisterous, everyone was dancing, they were on tables. And as the night sort of traveled on and got later and later, your head started to feel a little bit lighter, but you kept drinking. You kept drinking. And the last thing each of you remembers is these kind of blurry, blinking moments where you drift in and out of consciousness, and you see all of these other pirates and buccaneers, and I suppose you could say miscreants, having this party. And you blink, and suddenly you're in the street, and you can see your feet out in front of you being dragged. You blink again, and suddenly you see yourself being hoisted and kind of dragged up this gangplank. And then the next thing you remember is being sort of unceremoniously tossed into this swaying ever so slightly cot. You can smell this kind of briny salt water. And you can hear this, you can hear the kind of lapping of waves. And we're going to open our scene with each of you slowly starting to come to. You hear this lapping of water. You hear kind of the rolling of waves. And from somewhere, it's very dark, whatever room you're in or wherever you find yourselves, you kind of hear this, it's like this creaking of wood, kind of creaking of wood. And I'd like to start with Harlan. Harlan, your left hand is draped out of this cot, and instantaneously as you kind of open your eyes, it's very dark, but you see this kind of gray, like wooden planks above. You see just a little trickle of water come down into bloop, right under your forehead. And you instantaneously recognize you're likely in some sort of ship's. I'd like to take a moment, comic. I'd like you to describe what Harlan looks like. As his head is aching, your muscles feel weak. It's you struggle to lift your left hand. It's kind of draped over this cot. You're swaying ever so slightly back and forth. You can hear these kind of rolling waves as this vessel, the ship that you're on, is likely traveling out to sea.
All right, so Harlan is a, relatively stout 6'2", in this tiny ass sea cot. If anyone's ever been on a ship and been near one, just historically, whatever, they suck. They're terrible. So he's definitely too big of it. Not only is his hand hanging off, his legs hanging off, but he's got a jacket on, or vest really, sleeveless. See his chest is dark, like very, very dark red, slightly grayish tinge skin, covered in esoteric tattoos, a shark eating something, a bird, just kind of reminiscent of ocean, nature life, that sort of thing. Nice thick belt, brown belt, gold belt buckle, multiple rings in his ears. Most important, black belts, boots. Most importantly, though, 2 horns sticking out of his head that one has pierced through the hanging cot, and a tail that seems to be drifting to and fro, kind of on a mind of its own. And he's just very, drugged out of his mind. His amber eyes are very dilated and kind of just, just woke up, trying to take everything in. It's sort of bright occasionally as light comes through maybe a porthole or something as he's swinging back and forth, but just doesn't have the energy to get up out of the cot and do anything. But it's very much like has that sleep paralysis demon, not necessarily panic, but he's mad that he can't move, really do anything about it. His body's very sluggish.
We're gonna have you make the first roll of this campaign, Atomic. We're gonna make the first roll of this campaign.
Lord.
I'd like you to roll a D100, and I want you to tell me high or low.
Okay. Let's see. You know what? In honor of all of us being drugged out of our minds, we're gonna go high. I forgot a space. Of course, we roll low.
And as you struggle to move that horn that had pierced the cot, you kind of lift your head and you hear this rip and the stretching of fabric, and suddenly you feel yourself collapse through the cot and hit the floor of this deck hard with a thud. There is a groan, but you hear this soft feminine voice. She is a redheaded woman. She has a tricorn hat on, a corset tightly bound, and she appears to be sitting in the cot, and she is kind of swaying, almost like it's a swing back and forth. She seems very at home here, and she says, "They should have given you thicker material." Swaying back and forth. And with that, you hear this voice, and I'd like to pivot down to Edward. Edward, you hear this kind of laugh, you hear this thud, your head is pounding, you can like barely lift your legs, and you feel yourself swaying ever so slightly. Give me a fortitude save real quick, Edward.
Where am I at? There I am.
Beautiful. 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 You managed to keep your lunch in, your breakfast. Maybe it was dinner. Maybe it's the alcohol you have. You can still feel that you're still a little drunk in this moment. And as you kind of open your eyes, you see that same kind of that like boards above. You can feel the boat. You've been on ships before. You know 100% you're on a vessel. You're not sure what direction you're heading. You're not sure where you're going, but you can 100% feel that kind of sway of it. And it's taking you a moment because your head's a little fuzzy right now to really get your bearings. But I'd like to take a moment to describe, what does Edward look like?
Yes, Edward Tarbos he's about 6'2", 6'3". He's got kind of a grayish black long coat. Usually has a hat, but at this point can't believe it may have been lost. He usually has a kind of a wider tricorn hat. He's got rings relatively on most of his fingers. Obviously a lot of them are missing. A couple earrings. He has long hair that goes just about to his shoulders. Most noticeably, he has 3 crosses tattooed right underneath of his left eye. Or I'm sorry, his right eye.
Okay.
Usually he has some form of a blade or something with him, but that is not present.
You notice, Edward, that you don't have any of your supplies. You've got your clothing, and that's pretty much it. You don't have your weapons, you don't have your bags, you don't have your coach purse. You've got nothing, Edward. Absolutely nothing on you. You seem to have been stripped completely clean.
Well, that's not good.
A sort of out of place looking elven man is kind of like a cat. Like if they're on a moving object and they like their paws are out, you see him, his legs outstretched, his arms back over his head. He's hanging onto the cot, and his cot seems to be swaying a bit more than everyone else's. It's like he's trying to maintain his positioning, but he is struggling to do so. So he's trying to compensate for the sway, but it's not working very well. And you see he's wearing this hat with a little bit of feather in it, little blue kind of wrap around it, and he's got a kind of almost like a thicker jacket than he should have, and he's just going, how do you make it stop? Oh dear, I didn't sign up for this. Where are we? What has happened?
I have a headache the size of Port Peril. Shut up for 5 minutes.
Oh dear. Oh my. Oh! And then you see him tumble out and spill onto the floor, losing his balance. He lands face first onto the deck, on the floor of this particular deck. And the woman, who is still just swinging back and forth in this cot, looks down at him and says, "You'll have to get your sea legs." And this continues to swing back and forth.
Don't worry too much about it, though. Once you pick the splinters out of your teeth, you'll get used to it.
Oh, dear me. Oh, ow, oh. I think I chipped a tooth. At the "I think I've chipped a tooth," stirring, feeling not quite as drunk. You do have a splitting headache, but you don't feel quite as weak as I've described the others. We see Blau's character. It's with a K, and I'm going to say it wrong.
Caius.
Caius. There it is. Caius. I'll get it right eventually. Caius. We see Caius. Caius, take a moment. Describe your character.
Caius is a very tall man, to the point of having trouble moving around on ships. He's very good looking in his dark hair. He's very pale. He normally passes for human, but if anyone has any kind of religious training, they might be able to recognize him as a Dampier, a half vampire. And prominently around his neck is an Asmodean holy symbol, which is not something that in most places of the world you would present proudly. His clothing is dark colored and with red accents, as is traditional for the Asmodean clergy. And as he, kind of cracks his eyes, trying not to look like he's opening his eyes or stirring, he realizes that there's several people in the room and kind of deflates a little bit and says, "By all of hell's order, see me through this."
And as you say that, there is another man. He is sprawled between two cots, very bearded, and do you snore?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he is
Loud.
snoring
He is
loudly.
definitely snoring.
Loudly. And finally there is this kind of noise, and you awaken. And I'd like Hakir?
Wakir.
Hakir, I said it right. I'm gonna get
Wakir.
it. Wakir with a W. Wakir. Lots of phlegm. Wakir. Take a moment to describe yourself to the party.
Well, Wakir looks like his picture. Bald on top. Got a little bit of a downward hair. Sideburns, big bushy beard. Left eye is got the white eye because there's a scar across it. Gold tooth right up front. And he's not a large man as far as tall, but he's got a presence to him. And he's like, I'm gonna say this is not good. I think we've been press ganged. Oh well, another ship, another tour.
And at the mention of press ganged, the woman with this tricorn and the red flowing kind of hair, she looks over and she's looking past some of these pillars, these kind of pilings that are on this ship, and she leans back, and just as she swings backwards, she leans back and she sees this Asmodean unholy symbol on Caius. And she just kind of sees it, rocks back, then rocks forward, rocks back. You see her tapping her lips, rocks forward, rocks back. "Aren't you a little south of the Eye of Abednego?" Rocks forward, and then rocks back and is waiting for a response.
My faith has taken me in interesting directions.
He leans back again, then leans forward, leans back again, and says, "Perhaps your faith has led you astray." And rocks forward, rocks back. And you notice that she has a little chain, looks to me maybe like a copper chain or something like that around her neck. And there's a little symbol at the end of it that looks to be a skull and crossbones. And maybe a knowledge religion check, if anybody has that. I want to see if you recognize it.
Oh, that would be me if I'm paying attention.
You would recognize that symbol as a holy, unholy, depending on what they ascribe to, symbol of Besmara. Besmara, the pirate queen, as it were, the black lady, the sea banshee, sailor's doom. She looks to be a Besmaran, and she seems surprisingly calm, considering that Hakir has just mentioned that he thinks you've all been press gang. The elven man quickly stands up and dusts himself off. Press ganged? What do you mean, press ganged? You mean we've been kidnapped?
What did I just say? 5 minutes
Damn.
apiece from you.
That's what it means.
Where is the law in this area? What do you mean? They can't just kidnap us off the street like common cattle. We need to speak with someone immediately.
They did. They have. And it looks like you're talking to her.
Oh,
Caius,
it
go ahead.
wasn't me that did the press gang. I am in the same boat as you all. And she giggles to herself. A boat, because we're on one. Also a pun. Oh dear. And she just kind of swings back and forth again.
Caius lays back down in the hammock and begins whispering to himself in Infernal.
Oh, creepy. Creepy.
I
Prayers
would
to
like-
Asmodeus.
I was gonna say I would like to try and hear what he's saying.
Yes. Invoking Asmodean, archdevils, dukes of hell, anyone who might lend aid.
Like that.
Mm.
And
Edward's gonna just slowly kind of crawl out of the hammock and start just stretching and knocking the kinks out of his neck and shoulders, and he's pretty much just like, fuck. All right.
And as you all are taking a moment to kind of gather your bearings, as it were, the elven man is seemingly a bit distraught about the current situation that they find themselves in. There are some heavy footsteps coming from a stairwell to and the other side of the vessel, towards what you can only presume is the bow of the vessel.
Popcorn's
And
front.
you hear this. Yeah, bow is front. That is correct. Some pirate you are. You hear a thud, 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 thud. And walking down and emerging right at the base of the stairs is a man who has a coiled whip in his right hands. He wears a red bandana. He looks excited. He has a thick black beard. The beard itself is heavily braided. And he looks just pleased as punch. Absolutely pleased as punch what he sees.
While this guy is walking up, Edward is going to just kind of slowly throw one shoulder around this scared elf and go, well, I believe that fellow right there that's going to be coming through that door is going to be the man you want to talk to about all this. And just slowly kind of light hand push him over just to get him away from Edward. Edward,
The elf takes a 2.5 foot step forward and then falls back into the same square that he was in. Just kind of goes yip, boop, and falls back as this man casually saunters over and addresses the group. His voice is harsh. It sounds like he's either smoked too much or drank too much, and he barks. He takes his whip and cracks it. Still abed with the sun over the yardarm? On your feet, you filthy swabs. Get up on deck and report for duty before Cap'n Harrigan flays your flesh into sausage skins. And Fishguts fries you up for breakfast. Go, 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 go! Whoosh, whoosh, and starts whipping. You watch as the woman with the red hair and the tricorn quickly jumps out of her swing, very gracefully landing, and makes her way past the man and his cracking whip towards the stairs. The elven man kind of freezes in place. What do the rest of you do in this moment?
Caius will take his time, but not hurry, but not delay about it. Will stand up out of the hammock and kind of mumble to himself. Well, whips and flaying clearly aren't the success of the Asmodean Church. He looks around at the kind of the squalid interior of a ship.
Edward is already making for the stairs. He's not dealing with this. He's
Makes for the stairs. Love it.
just doing what he has to do to not get whipped or thrown overboard.
Harlan's stretching. I mean, Wakir's stretching.
Harlan's just getting up out of the floor, just like
There is a
fucking hate you people.
crack. Did you say that out loud?
Oh yeah.
You feel the sting of a whip right across your back. You take 2 points of non-lethal damage, and you feel a bit of trickle of blood on your feet, dog.
So Harlan has scaled skin, which is an interesting development. So it may not hurt as much as this Whitman thinks it will, but he's not gonna let him onto that.
You travel up the stairs as well.
Yeah.
On the way out of the room, Caius will surreptitiously kind of grasp his holy symbol and cast a glance back across the room and detect good, wanting to see which of the people amongst them is good, because that is an exploitable attribute.
The only good that you get is from the red-haired woman.
Excellent.
The only good that you pick up on is from the red-haired woman.
I'll make use of that. No.
I don't believe anyone else is good aligned. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No. So as Harlan is passing Caius over the stairs in Infernal, he'll say, "So he's the one that dies first."
Only if you're not used to the whip yet.
Don't threaten me with a good time. And he goes up the stairs.
As you all begin to make your way up the stairs and start to get, go through one deck, go through another, you see a number of interesting characters. You see this almost kind of looks like a little bit of a foppish man that's not trying as hard as maybe he likely does. You see this half-orc woman with a double axe. She's got a big toothy grin. She just kind of smiles as you walk by. As you get up higher and higher and higher, and eventually make your way onto the actual deck of the ship. I'm going to grab everyone's tokens, but as you're all making your way up, you hear what sounds to be a very brief confrontation. A very brief confrontation between the elven man and this whip-wielding taskmaster. The elf says, I think there's been some sort of... You hear a, ow, it stings! And then that elf very quickly makes his way up the stairs. As all of you emerge onto the deck, you find that you are in the middle of an ocean. You do not see any land as far as you can see. You must be in the middle of several of the islands and the archipelagos that exist in this region, in the Shackles. But I'd like you all to, if you have it, give me a knowledge geography check, if you would be so kind. I want to see if you guys maybe get a basic idea of, or if you have profession sailor, I'd allow that as well, to maybe get an idea of where you're heading.
Got that one.
Very
Oh,
good.
well, okay. I was going to say...
Nice. All right.
Actually,
So you guys pick up quickly that based on the direction the clouds are traveling, based on the direction of the breeze, general course and heading, you're not sure precisely how far away you are from Port Peril, but you guys are currently heading north. You are currently heading northeast right now. So if we travel over very briefly to the Shackles map, you guys began somewhere in Port Peril, and you are traveling north and then kind of northeast. So you might be, depending on where you are, you could be maybe somewhere here. You could have traveled, maybe you're getting close to the straits, but you don't see any land right now. You can presume that You're probably somewhere in the open sea in this region, kind of in the center, right? All right, that's where you guys are currently headed. We're going to pivot back over to the deck. You see a couple of interesting characters on the deck. And not only are you ushered up onto the deck, but you also see several other characters as well. There's this woman with long black hair and a red bandana. She looks to be resigned to the situation at hand. There's a kind of short-looking man. He's got a corncob pipe in his mouth, and he's just kind of chewing on the end. It's not lit. He's just chewing on it. There is a young-looking boy who is incredibly nervous and is kind of hiding in the corner. Someone said hi to you, by the way. K Soldier 57 says hi, Zeb. But he's kind of hiding in the corner, and he's just kind of rubbing his hands together and looks completely like a fish out of the water. There's also this woman who is not wearing any shoes and is just kind of leaning up against the mid-mast. You also have this short kind of halfling woman with an eye patch and a face tattoo. She is off over the, not leaning like over, but kind of leaning back with her elbows on the railings. And then last but certainly not least, there is this woman. She's a halfling woman. She is actually standing up on the aft deck, the backside deck of the vessel, as it were. And she has a little violin in her hands, and she looks positively perturbed to be in her current predicament, but also, along with many of the others, looks to be somewhat resigned to the situation. You have all been corralled up on deck. The man with the whip has snapped the whip several times, and he gives the order, "In line! All of you dogs, in line, now! Line up for the captain!" And he cracks the whip, and everyone kind of moves around. The elf bumps into somebody. The young boy is still sitting in the corner and is just kind of making himself look as small as possible. And this man with the whip doesn't seem to even notice him. But you also see there is a gentleman with a cutlass. He's bald except for a ponytail. Very weird style. Kind of like it personally. There is also this woman, and she's got two what look to be, they kind of look like clubs. They've got these gold tips, but they've got what looks to be like a trigger on them, which is weird. She's got those kind of resting on her shoulder. She's got this red kind of bandana, a low cut blouse on her, and she's just kind of looking at everybody and giving them all these eyes. But I'm curious, what are you guys doing? Do y'all line up quickly, or are you just kind of letting everything happen? What's the game?
Well, Kira wants to know what kind of ship this is from what he's looked at.
Give me a profession sailor check.
Okay.
So you would recognize this as a very small merchant ship. This is a ship that would likely be used for mostly intercoastal travel. Being out on the open ocean, not likely what it would be used for. This is small as far as ships go. You've seen huge galleons. You've seen some of the Chilaxian military, some of their privateer vessels that are 10 times the size of this.
Like a schooner.
Like a schooner almost. Yeah, I mean it's got several decks. You went up 2 decks. You were on the lowest level. There's likely a bilge below that level that you were on. But it's only got 3 decks. There are ships that have 10 decks, so it's quite small. But as you all line up and hook here, as you take a moment to realize that
this isn't the ship.
Something seems also different about this vessel as well. The sails are a little bit bigger than a ship of this size would likely require. You think it's maybe been modified for the open sea. To what extent and how successfully, you're not sure. But at this point, that's the information you're able to garner.
It doesn't seem like this is the right kind of ship for piracy.
Caius
Hmm.
kind of steps into line, obviously not fearing the whip in any way, shape, form, not reacting to the crack at all, as if he spends his days being whipped almost. And he speaks an infernal a little bit louder than he has to. I mean, just to make sure the person one step down the line from him can hear it, and says, "We're making out of this alive. We're making it out together. Are you with me?"
I just look up at him. You talking to me?
No, but it might as well go for you too, he says in a lower voice. "If we're making this out alive, we're making it out together." He repeats himself word for word in common this time.
This woman that that has the long black hair that is sort of like kitty corner to Hakir. She looks over her shoulder and she very quietly, but she kind of snaps, "Shut up!"
Or what? You'll get whipped?
Whoosh, the whip cracks again. "All right, welcome, welcome all, and please throw your hands together for none other than our glorious fear of the sea, the dread pirate, Barnabas Harrigan!" Clap, 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 clap. There's a bunch of clapping. They clap. Some of the other people start to clap. As they sort of like slowly start to clap, he cracks the whip in front of them, and then everyone starts to clap. Even the young boy who was cowering stands up and starts to clap. And appearing from behind the stern mast, as though maybe he was leaning against it just to keep himself out of eyeshot from everyone else, you see a very grizzled, very grizzled looking man. He has a metal eye patch over it, leather pauldron. He's got a long braided beard that comes down, and he looks like he has spent the majority of his life on the sea. This is his home. He looks angry. Like everyone that has it, or anyone that has it, give me a knowledge local. I want to see if you guys can pick up any information about this particular.
I don't have that.
No knowledge local.
Nobody. I'll allow a profession sailor.
It's just a man.
Man,
It's a man.
Harlan. The name Barnabas Harrigan rings a bell. Your mind starts to kind of drift for a moment, and you start to think back to maybe a conversation you overheard at a tavern, maybe one of the first days that you arrived in Port Peril. You're just overhearing conversation between two pirates, and they mentioned that they were shocked that Kerdak Bonefist had simply banished him and not put him to the sword. After what Harrigan had done, he should be dead. Yet he was given a second chance.
Fantastic.
And that seemed to bother them. That's all you remember of the conversation. They ended up getting up. Perhaps you were drinking and had quite a bit to drink and were feeling a little drunk at the time. But you remember that. So this man has a relationship with Kerdak Bonefist. And you would know with that check that Kerdak Bonefist is the pirate king, as it were. Now, there's no official government in the Shackles, right? There's no true ruling class per se, but there is a loose organization known as the Free Captain. It's a council of pirate lords that sort of run everything, and all loot, all plunder sort of rolls up to them. That's you tend to, you know, you can go before the pirate council. You can ask to become a free captain, but it's a pretty hard sort of, I guess, what would you call it? A sort of hard. It's a hard test to pass, as it were,
Mm.
right? But apparently this Bronibus Harrigan was a free captain at one point, but for whatever reason, whatever he did, he has been stripped of his title, and he doesn't look too happy about that.
Mm.
But this is the information you're able to garner. But sort of a juxtaposition to the way he looks. His voice, he sounds very well spoken, almost as though he's maybe had some higher education or some learning. And he opens his arms wide and he says, so glad that you could join us, and let me be the first to cordially welcome you to the Wormwood. My thanks for your volunteering to join my crew. I am Bronibus Harrigan, the captain. Bronibus Harrigan to you, not that you'll ever need to address me. I have only one rule. Don't speak to me. I like talk, but I don't like your talk. Follow that rule and we'll get along quite fine. Oh, and one more thing. Even with you new recruits, we're still a bit short-handed, and I aim to keep the crew that I have. There'll be a keel hauling for anyone caught killing anyone. Mr. Plug, if you'd be so kind as to make pirates out of these landlubbers, it'll save me having to put them in the sweatbox for a year and a day, or if make pies out of them. Understood. The gentleman with the whip. He salutes. The gentleman with the cutlass and the weird like rat tail off the back of his head salutes as well. He addresses the captain. Aye, Captain. I'll make sure that me and Master Scrooge make true pirates out of these recruits. And with that, the captain saunters over, down, gives a quick look over to the woman with the two, look to be some sort of like clubs on her shoulders, walks over, and then enters into his, what appears to be the aft cabin, like the captain's quarters of this vessel, closes the door behind him. There's a moment of sort of quiet chatter among these quote-unquote recruits. And I'd like you guys to just take a moment to, you've got maybe 30 seconds before your new bosses start to kind of whip you into shape, put you to work. What do you guys talk about, if anything?
Yeah, Caius will grab Edward by the back of the coat and kind of pull him so we're in a square instead of a line, so we can talk amongst ourselves.
Mhm.
You know, the new people that were there. Well, I guess aside from the wizard, but we don't. The elf, we don't want him in the circle, anyways.
Aw. Oh dear.
Um,
Oh dear. I should not have taken...
Look, among the four of us, we're the new people here. We're gonna be low on the totem pole. They're gonna kick the shit out of us. I don't know how many of these other people just got grabbed, but they're gonna be higher up than us if they hadn't just got grabbed at the same time we did. That elf's useless. The four of us need to work together.
Well, Whipman definitely has to go. Let me tell you something. His name, this Barnabas, it rings a bell. I heard a rumor of him in Hell Harbor, something to do. He pissed off the man at the very top, the Pirate King. I don't know the specifics, but everyone was shocked that he's still alive. Perhaps a last favor or something else. So if he got kicked down from the top all the way here, he must have fucked up something serious.
Look,
Yes, this ship is not made for piracy. This is a
Look at this.
merchant vessel.
Look at the size of the sails.
It's
Whatever.
a
Size of the ship.
suicide mission.
whatever we do, we can't start a mutiny now, though. He said he's
No.
shorthanded already.
All right,
we
you
can-
dogs! Line up for your assignments! The man with the whip cracks the whip again, and everyone starts to line up. So, there's a couple of different assignments, and the way that this is going to work in-game is that there are daytime tasks. These are what you would do, and there's like two different shifts. There's like the daytime, the nighttime. You guys can choose which shift you'd like to be on. Today you're going to be on the daytime shift because you don't have a choice because you were woken up. It's midday, high noon, basically. But there are several different tasks that you can attempt to accomplish. And if you scroll down to the handouts, there will be swab tasks, cook tasks, and rigger tasks. Take a moment to familiarize yourself with those tasks. Now, a portion of the sort of the first part of this adventure is obviously you've all been press ganged onto the Wormwood. There are several different characters that you can attempt to likely pull over to your cause, and you're going to have options on whether you'd like to put yourself to task, whether you'd like to maybe kind of do a half-ass job to attempt to interact with some of the other characters and maybe gain some allies along the way. But I'd like to just give you guys a moment, familiarize yourselves with these different tasks,
Cook.
and then I'm going to ask everyone what they would like to do during the first day.
Cook.
Here is going to be cook. I like.
Where are the tasks at?
So if you go down
Handouts.
to handouts, several
Click on your journal tab. Scroll
swab,
all the
cook,
way
and
down.
rigger. It's all the way at the bottom.
Harlan's definitely going up in the rigging.
Swab.
Very good.
I'm probably gonna go rigger.
Very. So let's start with. I'd like to start with Akir. Akir, you're assigned to cook, and you're going to meet a very interesting character. You are ushered downstairs along with a few other of the crew who are working on cleaning some of the lower decks, organizing some of the supplies, getting things ready, and you travel down. And as you enter into the galley, as it were, you see there is the orcish woman with the orc double axe. She is sitting on a chair in front of a locked room. You can see this heavy door. There's a little slide port, so if someone was on the other side, they could open it. But with your earlier check, you're pretty sure that's like the ship's storage locker. That's probably where they keep important stuff like weapons and things maybe they stole from you. And she just kind of gives you a toothy grin. And she asks, looking for Fishguts?
I give her a toothy grin back. Yes.
From somewhere off the right-hand side up here, you hear a very, very loud and obnoxious Mary, bring me more wine. Ale's fine. And you smell him before you see. As the orcish woman just kind of tilts her head to the left, motioning for you to go over, you travel over to what looks to be a small stove, little cooking area. There's a smattering of different cooking supplies and half-eaten sandwiches, things like that. And underneath a long wooden table is a man wearing a comically large-sized chef's hat. He is laying on his back on a cot that's been strung at the end of the table, so it just kind of swings underneath the table. And he's got a bottle of what looks to be mostly drank red wine. And he's just kind of nursing it like it's a baby. Just kind of like this. He's just like, oh, Mary.
Name's Wakir. I'm to be your cook's helper.
Oh, yes. Waggity wah. And he takes 1 glug, 2 glugs, 3 glugs, 4 glugs, 5 glugs, and then you hear that telltale sign of him sucking air, and he takes the bottle and he looks at it, and he kind of holds it like he's holding a baby, like he's holding baby Simba out in front of him, and he says, Mary, Why would you betray me? Yeah! And he chucks it. I need you to make a reflex save. He chucks the bottle of wine in your direction, the empty bottle. You deftly dodge it. It goes right by your head, crashes into the back wall, and he says, "Wine! Wine, cook! Cook hand, wine, bring me more wine. There should be some cooking sherry. Cooking sherry underneath the cupboard right there, underneath the cupboard." He cackles a little bit.
I don't know why that was. Oh, there we go. Like, I was reading the wrong thing. Now this is not nice. You know we're gonna have to clean that up.
Who's going to make me? I'm in charge of the kitchen. You are my man. You are the man. You are my man. You are my employee. No, you're my slave.
No,
Employee?
no,
Cutthroat
no.
Rock. Are they
This is
slaves? No, they're not slaves. They're not slaves. Fishguts.
I am a crew member, and you just assaulted a crew member with
Didn't
a
kill you
ball.
though, so I'm fine.
I think we need to work better. My name is Wakir. This is not my first ship. I've lived in a tavern my whole life. I can make your life harder, or I can make it easier.
And
Which would you prefer?
mention of harder easier. I'd like you to make a diplomacy check. It's damn good. Holy shiitake mushrooms. Fishguts. He kind of leans up in the cot. It's hard for him to really, steady himself and push himself up. But he kind of leans up and he eyeballs you. And you can see that you can smell it. The guy is just 3 sheets to the wind. He is rip roaring drunk. I mean, absolutely rip roaring drunk. And he's just eyeing. Wait, have we met before?
Well, that just depends on where you've been. I'm from Tempest K, up in Drenchport Port.
No one ever talks to me like
It's just I know what you got to do, and you can't be behaving like this
that.
and keep the crew on your side.
He reaches like he's reaching towards you, and you can see it happening. The cot is starting to spin, and he's just kind of reaching like he's trying to, man pointing and touching God. It's closer.
Yeah, I'm just gonna
closer.
grab his hand and just slowly spin him.
The way where he falls off, or the way where he stays on.
Just I'm gonna spin him, see whatever happens.
Yeah. So you go to spin him, and he just goes, "Ah!" And he collapses right on his back onto the deck. There is a loud oof from around the corner. You can see Cutthroat Grok, this half-orc woman. She just shakes her head. You see she has what looks to be a small leather-bound book. She's about halfway through. It's actually got a really beautiful kind of blue ribbon that goes down the center, and she appears to be reading it. She just kind of shakes her head, and you hear her mumble to herself, "Should have chosen to be a swab." And Fishguts slowly gets to his feet, kind of dusts himself off a little bit, and he continues to eyeball you. Where did you say you were from again?
I'm from Tempest K, Port of Drenchport, up north.
Never been. All right, well, let's get to work. And he shakes his hand, like brushes his hands together. Now we are going to have you roll a d6. Roll us a d6 on.
Got me a 6.
All right. I'm also quickly adding here another handout that I'm going to show to you guys in just a moment. This will determine how you are performing these actions. So there's daytime actions, there's nighttime actions you perform. This will be called day and night. So this is a daytime ship action. I'd like to know, before you make this check, are you choosing to work diligently this day? Are you trying to maybe influence someone, to maybe try to get them on your side? Or would you like to kind of skirt your job for the day and maybe have some additional options to do other things? What would you like to do day one on the ship up here?
Well, we're definitely going to make his life easier by being in the kitchen.
You're going to work
And
diligently?
He's going to work diligently
You're going to get
because
a +4 to this task. I like that.
because you know, the way to a crew is through their
So
bellies.
you are actually preparing, and you come to find out from Fishguts through burps and chuckles and him. He doesn't do a lot of working. It's mostly you doing the cooking. But he tells you that today Captain Harrigan is celebrating he calls it his rebirth. Special occasion for him. So he's asked there to be a very special, clean cut of meat. This like a ribeye steak that he's been saving, and this kind of cool locker. Got to specially spice it. So I need you to roll a survival check or a profession cook check with a +4 to this roll.
All right, we're going to do a survival. Let's hope that everything goes the way it's been going.
Yeah, don't poison the crew.
And having said that,
Don't poison the captain.
Well, you know,
Or do.
20.
or do,
Or
yeah.
do. I mean, that's just your back to get worked.
Yeah, it goes swimmingly, and you are actually able to whip up Fishguts looks kind of impressed. He looks a little surprised, a little kind of thrown off at how good you are, and he asks again. And this will be our final moment with Huck here before we pivot over to one of the other crew. But he finally asks again, "Wait a minute, where'd you say you were from?" And that will be his last scene with you. And I'd like to go to Harlan. Harlan, what ship's task do you wish to perform today?
Harlan's going to be about the rigging, as he has spent most of his shipborne time either in the rigging or in a crow's nest as a lookout, because he can naturally see in the dark. So he's, it's kind of always been his thing.
Absolutely love that. So you are up in the rigging, and you are, helping adjust the sails, keep things going smoothly. Now, did you want to be on the forestay, the mid-mast, or the aft mast?
I guess it depends on can I judge about how fast we're going? Because I mean, what sails are currently kind of out and
As
about.
fast as this little ship will
As
move.
fast as this little shitter will go. Okay, we'll go mid-mast just because it's a good,
I like that.
it's a good safe place to be.
So you're going to end up on mid-mast. Roll me a D100. I want to see who you end up next.
Ooh, lovely, lovely, lovely. 85.
All right, you're actually going to end up next to this sort of short. He almost looks like a halfling, but he doesn't have like the classic characteristics. And but he climbs that rigging. He climbs the rigging quickly. Like he's done this 1,000 times before. He gets up there super, super, super fast. And I'd like you to roll us a D6. D6. Number one. So your job on the rigging today.
Rigging repair.
Going to be rigging repair. So you are up in the rigging. There's one of the sails, the mid sail, sort of large billowing sail on the mid mast there. It's kind of floundering a little bit and flopping on the left side. One of the lines seems to have snapped or broken, and so he quickly shimmies his way up, and you quickly have to climb up after him. So I'm going to need you to make a climb check. I I need you to make a DC 10 climb check to get up. Now, my question before you do this is, are you going to work diligently? Or are you going to just do kind of normal work, maybe try to influence somebody during the day? How would you like to proceed?
As tempting as influencing is, he doesn't really know. I mean, other than the two people kind of at the top, he doesn't really know who's the other big swinging dicks are. So he's kind of gonna take the day. He's gonna work, but he's gonna, observe as he does so, because the rigging's a great place to do that. You can see people down below on the deck, and et cetera, et cetera. So he's gonna do diligence.
So as you climb up, you're going to get a +4 to your climb check. Go ahead and roll that.
Of course.
All right. So you go to start climbing. You get about 5 feet up into this kind of like swaying rope, and the ship hits this heavy wave, and you can feel the bow of the ship kind of crash through it, rise up, and crash back down. As it crashes back down, you lose your footing, and you slip down and find yourself kind of tangled upside down. This rat-like man who is already 20 feet up looks down and goes, "Look at him! First day on a ship! Look at you, fuck! You better not do that again! You'll get the whip!" And he just quickly scurries up and starts trying to repair the rigging. Give me another climb check, my dude. Let's see if you can remedy this, because you see a very angry-looking man wearing that purple clothing. He's got that rat tail ponytail on the back of his head, and he is just eyeballing you with a very disapproving look.
I put the name of the short little bastard also on the list. His name is going on the list. Let's try it again. So +4, so...
Beautiful. So it takes you a little bit longer than it did for everyone else, but you managed to make your way up, and you start working on the rigging. Sitting in the crow's nest is this kind of brunette, dark brown haired woman, and you see that she has a bit of fire in her hand, and she is kind of playing with the fire, and she just tosses it from one to the other, catches it, tosses it from one to the other, catches it, and she's just kind of lazily watching the horizon as she tosses this fire back and forth. She catches you glancing over at her, and she just narrows her eyes, and you can't hear it over the sound of the wind and the crash of the waves. You get the impression that she just growled at you like some sort of animal. Like, she kind of bares her teeth. The rat man, who is next to you and is starting to work on repairing some of the ropes and tying things up, fixing this sail. He looks at you, looks over to her, and says, "Wouldn't do that if I was you. He's a fiery one."
So, given his, infernal ancestry, as it were, fire, it doesn't bother him at all. And so when she gives me the kind of growl, he just kind of smiles at her, narrows his yellow eyes, and all of his teeth that you can see are filed down and pointed, and just gives her a, almost like this just devious bestial smile back.
Ooh.
As the flames reflect out of his eyes, because fire doesn't scare him at all.
You know what? I like that description. I'm going to have you roll your choice, diplomacy or intimidate check. You tell me. Tell me how you want to handle this.
Well, I get a single +1 trait bonus for intimidate, so we'll give it a shot. No, they ain't doing shit. I mean,
you smile, and she just looks at you, rolls her eyes just aggressively, and then goes back to playing with her fire, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And he says, "Oh boy, you shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have done that. Now you're on the shit list. And you're on my shit list if you don't shut your mouth." Hey, we're all in this together, bud. We're all in this together. No need to be rude. Fuck's sake. Guess we're not going to be talking buddies. We're going to be rigging buddies. And he just continues to work. Go ahead and roll your profession sailor check.
Mission
Attempt to fix some of the
sailor,
rigging.
and this gets the +4 as well,
It
correct?
does. Yes,
It does. And so add 4 to this. How about 29? What? Is that right?
So you
Okay, yeah,
do
never
an
mind.
absolutely fantastic job.
Why is
In
it getting a 7?
fact, you put the
Oh,
little
'cause it's
rat man to
wisdom.
shame. You actually you show him a thing or two, but he doesn't really say much else. Doesn't really say much else during this back and forth interaction. He just kind of works. You work diligently. Doesn't really do a lot of talking. However, across the way, I want you to make a quick perception check, Arlen. I want you to make a quick perception. I want to see if you notice something about the red-haired woman, this Bismarin worshiper that's on the other side, helping with the reading as well.
Yeah, so unlike a lot of tailed races too, is he's like tying stuff off. He's got both hands and the tail, because that fucker's prehensile. So where he's got like essentially 3 hands effectively working. So I'll make a perception.
Love it.
Standard atomic rolling.
It. So yeah, you don't notice anything. You're focused on your work, right? You're focused on your work. You're doing your thing. And yeah, Ratline doesn't really say much else. The woman playing with the fire doesn't say much else. You see a couple of other crew members that are messing around with rigging and working on stuff. And we're going to pivot back down to the main deck, where we're going to follow. I'm going to go over to Edward. Edward, what job do you choose to do?
Oh, we could do swab.
Swabbing. All right. Give me a D6. Four. Hauling rope and knot work. Hauling rope and knot work. So it's sort of similar to working in the rigging, but instead of up in the sails in the actual rigging, you're down below, sort of, you're pulling the sails in, releasing them. You're doing a little line work, right? So you find yourself like holding on to this very, very heavy, very thick line. And as you do so, you find yourself next to. You know what? You know what we're going to do? We're going to drag you next to. It's going to be barefoot. Oh, barefoot. That's who you're going to be next to. So she's a barefoot woman. She is it's you, her, and the young man. And this woman that has these two what look to be crossbows without the cross. She's got them in her little holsters, and she's just barking orders. She's like, "Trim, trim, trim, loosen, trim, 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 trim. Bring it in, bring it in, bring it in. Trim, 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 trim." She's giving you orders on what to do with the sails, and give me a sense motive check right now. I want to see if you can pick up on something.
Edward. That'd be under skills.
Probably don't have it trained, so it might not be on your list.
Nope, it's not. So
It's flat D20.
yep.
Two things. The woman that is not wearing shoes, this black-haired woman with a kind of like yellowish green looking jacket and a little kind of like just wrapped cloth around her head. Her feet look to be they're the most calloused looking feet you've ever seen in your life. They also appear to be heavily bruised, and on 2 of her toes she's missing toenails. Like maybe she's never worn shoes her entire life. But she seems not at ease in this moment, but every time this woman barks orders to trim, she's the first to pull. Every time it's to release, she's the first to let it back. And she's just very much kind of just in the flow of it. Like this just feels very natural to her. Conversely, the young man in front of you with the red hair, sort of childlike face, he's wearing this white kind of looks to be it's like it was made of a bag shirt, and his pants look to be heavily stained, maybe from urine, maybe from food. You're not sure, but he just looks. Every time it's released, he's the last to do it. You are, I would imagine, somewhere in the middle. And like, no, do you try to talk to your fellow crewmates here, or are you just going to work diligently? What's the plan here?
I think Edward's going through the motions. He's just humming shanties that he knows from working on ships all his life. He's just kind of humming to himself, going with the flow, trying not to get whipped or thrown overboard. He's familiar with ships, but not these people. So he's going to do anything he can right now in these moments to not have any reason for them to be like, you.
You're going to work diligently, it sounds like.
Yep.
Go ahead and give us a profession sailor check.
Oh, please don't roll like Zeb rolls. Please don't roll like Zeb rolls. Oh, damn it.
You got a +4. You succeed. You're doing a good
Oh,
job.
thank God.
Adequate job. However, as you are kind of hauling it back, hauling it forward, hauling it back, you hear the woman from behind you. She kind of mumbles to herself. You lean back maybe slightly, and you overhear her saying, "You should throw that brat overboard. It's only going to cause trouble." The young man, likely the brat she's mentioning, is, "Ah! Oh, my hands! Oh, yeah!" And you can see that his hands, you can see just a little bit of like that red glisten of blood on the rope, and his hands aren't calloused. He's looks to be maybe no more than 14, maybe 15. It could even be as young as maybe 13. He's a young man, and he is just struggling. His little hands don't even really wrap around the rope fully, and he's having a hard time. This woman behind you seems to think he's more of a burden than is worth the effort. Do you say anything, or you just continue to work diligently?
How much like break is in between this, like pulling back and trimming it back?
Depends on the gusts, depends on the breeze. Occasionally you're always holding it, you're steady. You either kind of release it, hold your position, pull it back, hold your position. In this moment, she hasn't barked any orders. In fact, this woman that has been commanding you to trim, release, etc., she's got her hand held up, and you can feel this kind of surge of speed, like you've just caught a gust. That is a kitty. You feel this that's a nice looking kitty cat. You feel this burst of speed. You've caught. You can feel the ship. It's actually riding a wave right now. So occasionally when you're sailing, if you match the speed of the wind, you're almost going too fast. You can start to ride waves. It's called surfing, they call it. And so you're actually surfing on a wave. She's like, hold, hold. So you've got a couple of moments here, likely before she barks another order.
Without removing one of my hands, I'm going to reach over and grab at his burlap shirt, and I'm going to pull. How long is it?
Shirt?
Like, yes, his shirt. How long? Like, does it go down to his
It goes
knees
down to
or
like just above his knees. Like it's an oversized
Okay.
shirt for him. Yeah.
so he could. I'm going to reach for the back of it and pull it over the top of him so it's going over his arms, and I'm going to just say, use that to grab.
Oh.
So that way he's not bleeding all over this rope. And then I'm just going to lean back and just slowly whisper, just say, don't give him the satisfaction. And then go back to it.
I'm going to give you a diplomacy check. You choose which character you want to try to influence. Because that was a cool description. I like that a lot. I'm going to give you the free one here. Let's see if you can influence.
Oh, the one of the two people that I'm rigging with, or
yeah.
I would say in that situation, she's just going through the motions. She's done this for so long, she knows. I would say it would be the boy that would get the most out of that whole.
Give me a diplomacy check.
All right, let's see. Watch me fail. Watch me fail. All right, so the skills. Come on. Load, please. Load, please.
Oh, that's a damn good roll, Zabski. The boy. You kind of pull the shirt up and hey, what are you? And you quickly tell him, use that to grab. He kind of looks down at his slightly bleeding hands, and you see him kind of wrap his shirt around them, re-grab on, and there's this moment of like you've ever seen like a puppy that's scared and it's snapping and barking and growling, but kind of wagging its tail, and it wants to be your friend, but it's also terrified that you're going to hurt it. That's the look in this child's eye. But it softens, and very quietly, almost a whisper, you can hear him say, "Thank you." And Jack Scrimshaw is going to move from indifferent to friendly, at least towards Edward. You seem to have maybe you've gained a friend, a small one. But over the coming days, you will notice that Jack, he may not be right next to you, but he seems to kind of shadow you. When it's time for you to eat, he's at the same table or close by. Whatever job you choose to do, Jack tries to get the same job. And you've got yourself a little shadow. Last but certainly not least, I'd like to go over to K-Guy. Caius. I said it. I was first. I said it first. Caius. We're going to go over to Caius. Caius, what job do you choose to do?
Caius is going to swab.
Swab as well.
Swabbing with me.
Caius, give us a D6 roll. Let's see what job you get. Ooh. You are rat catching. You are rat catching, which is absolutely fantastic. Great job. Perhaps one of my favorites. And we are going to send you down back to the deck where you began. Were you a gnome with a gaudy, broad-brimmed hat with a huge purple feather in it, has also been assigned to rat catching. And as you get downstairs, both him and this elf that seems very much out of place are having a quiet conversation to themselves. And this purple-hatted gnome with an eye patch says, "I must tell you, this is absolutely despicable. I've never caught a rat in my life. I don't have any weapons. What am I supposed to do? Dive on it? No, I can't believe that they would ask us to catch rats with bare hands. Are there supposed to be cats on this end? Oh, hello, sir." Caius, you entered the scene.
Caius merely raises his eyebrow and says, "Well, you better be diving on them. Animals won't come near me. I'm going to have to corral them."
All right. Aren't animals, like, driven away from you? Isn't that a thing?
Animals will not willingly approach within 30 feet of me.
So you know what's funny? I think that's going to be a boon. Because you can basically drive them into, like, a corner or side of the ship. And, God, that's
grab them.
That's freaking cool. So what I'm going to have you do is I'd like to know, are you going to work diligently? Are you going to try to maybe do some influencing? How would you like to handle this particular day?
He's going to try to influence. Not the stupid elf, but the gnome.
All right.
The gnome.
So let's have you roll a stealth or survival check. Or dexterity check. DC
I have
10.
neither of those things, but I can roll you a 1d20 plus 1 for a dex.
16. So you, along with your supernatural ability to drive animals away from you, you are actually able to drive more rats than you think would be on the ship into, like, the bow of the ship, the front of the ship, and your two compatriots are able to start gathering them up in sacks.
Shoving rats into a sack.
Into a bag, yep. But as you are doing this, the gnome kind of raises his one good eye at you and says, "I can't quite put what it is. You look human, but you don't seem to be, well, never seen rats run from a person quite as aggressively as they do from you. What in the nine hells are you?"
Oh, not out of the 9 hells, unfortunately. And he gives a slight smile, showing his longer than average canine teeth.
Ah, a werewolf. Intriguing.
Not quite, but you'll get there one day.
We're bear? We're badger? We're raccoon?
Dampier.
A were-damp? A were-damp? I've never heard of, like, some sort of damp rag. What are you talking about?
Half vampire.
He takes a visible step back from you. I'm sorry, did you say vampire?
Only a half. I don't thirst for blood.
So, what did that mean? What did that translate into? From the bow of the ship, you hear the elf going, "Oh, damn it! Oh God! Oh, it got on me! Oh, it's disgusting! Oh, that one bit me! Oh, damn it!
Put it in the sack!
I'm trying! They're so slippery!"
He looks back to the gnome and says, "It translates to a loyal Asmodean. And that is my first and foremost
Loyal
responsibility."
Asmodean. Don't you worship devils or some other?
As you said, in the 9 hells.
May I be completely candid with you, Mr. Dampier?
Caius.
Damp Caius. I wanted to say one thing, if I may. I find your religion. How to put this? And he kind of grabs the brim of his hat, and just kind of like draws his finger over the brim, kind of doing that like Zorro thing.
Mhm.
Does that? I find it despicable. What do you think of that?
I find that slips are better off in chains, but different places, different tastes. And I saved you about 6 hours of work in about a half an hour. So I think you can be a little bit more grateful.
You're not like any other Asmodean I've ever met. You have a dry but robust sense of humor. Is that common among your kind? I've never actually met an Asmodean. Well, I've met Asmodeans, but not a Dampiran Asmodean. That's a technical term. Dampiran? Dampiri? Dampira? Tell me, languages are a bit strange. I speak several of them.
Caius shrugs a little bit and says, "I only speak a couple, but I've never met another of my kind, so I wouldn't know."
You don't seem very common. What is the nature of your birth? Were you bitten as a baby? Was your mother bitten and then you became one? Oh dear, how wild. The nature of your birth must have been horrible. Did your mother survive?
Caius shakes his head and goes back to working at this point.
Oh dear.
She did not survive.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
I've offended you.
Oh dear. My boy. I didn't mean to offend. It's just I haven't had the pleasure of anyone that was really quite so interesting as the likes of you. Please. My apologies. They call me Conkabar. Or
Onkabar.
Conk for short. I know, it sounds a bit silly. I'd like you to roll a diplomacy check here, guys. And I'm going to give you a pretty big bonus, because I liked that back and forth, but that's good enough. Conkabar has gone from unfriendly to indifferent. He finds you interesting, but not interesting enough to be your friend as of yet. But he is no longer thinking that you're weird, creepy, fanged, were raccoon. You are now just a weird half vampire, which he finds
half vampire devil worshiper,
but also strange. So as the rest of the day goes on, I need everyone now to roll me Constitution checks to see if you are fatigued at the end of the day. Because though you are working, you were working very diligently. Everyone, pretty much, other than Caius, did it. So Caius, you're the only one that doesn't have to make this check because you did it very quickly. Everyone else was working diligently. Needs to make a Constitution check. You're looking for a DC 10. DC 10 Constitution.
Is that a con check, by the way, or a fort save?
Con check.
Ooh,
con check.
ew.
Yeah, it's rough. Good news. Everyone that rolls over a 10 does not end up fatigued. Those that rolled under a 10 end up fatigue. So, Hakir, you end up doing all of the work. Fishguts spends most of the time talking about where he grew up, what he was into, the last girl that he had carnal relations with, which was apparently over a decade ago for obvious reasons. But you end up quite fatigued at the end of the day. However, as the night shift gets closer, all of you are told to head down to your cots and get some shut. So I'm going to move everyone back down to the cots in the lower deck. And you've got a couple of other characters down there. The Besmarin is down there with you. You've got this older-looking woman kind of swinging. You've got the purple-hatted gnome who kind of gives a little bit of an eye towards Caius. You've got this young man who picks a cot next to the gnome, but very close to Edward. And we're also going to bring down this halfling who has a violin, and she is laying in one of the cots, kind of holding the violin, and she's just playing it's not like a really uplifting, but it's kind of this sad sort of roll, like just kind of like droning on kind of sea shanty. And she's singing about the love of the sea, but how the sea is a fickle mistress. So we're going to roll into the night of our first day at sea. Our first day at sea. We're rolling into the night, our first day. So our first full day at sea, been awake. If you look at your nighttime actions, you're going to see that you've got a couple of options of what you can do at night. Okay, what you can do at night. You can sleep to recover your fatigue. You could gamble with some friends. You could entertain, try and perhaps improve the mood and morale of the crew, right? You could also attempt to influence a single NPC. You could sneak around, try to garner some more information. You could also attempt to steal something from someone. What would you all like to do? Let's start back where we began with Akir. What are you going to do? Akir passes right the fuck out. Just straight to bed, passes right the fuck out. He is just like a light gone, dead to the world. Absolutely fantastic. Let's pivot over to where we went afterwards, which was Harlan. What do you do?
So Harlan is, already ripped through one hammock. So he's going to take advantage of both Wakir's snoring and the violin playing to get in this hammock. And he has somehow scrounged like 2 corks from like 2 rum bottles and put them on the end of his horns so he can't rip through the hammock.
Caius says in Infernal, I was even going to joke about corking your horns.
It's not my first time on a ship at sea. Usually I just make a little thing on the floor, but we don't have the accoutrement, as it were. And he's speaking in Infernal, because this is the thing we're doing. So what is your plan? If we choose to stick together for the greater good of us all and getting off of this accursed, floating, soon-to-be tomb for us all as soon as we try and engage anything, because, well, look at it. It's pathetic.
Even if it weren't pathetic, we don't have enough crew to stage a mutiny. If we stage a mutiny, half of us die. We can't run the ship.
Maybe we don't have to stage a mutiny. Maybe we just have to help someone have a very tragic accident and take their place.
What do you mean? All 4 of the officers up there, the club wielder, the ponytail whipman, and the captain? I don't think any of them are going to let go of leadership.
Oh, well, if one of 2 of them happen to suffer tragic ends, who knows?
If we can arrange it, get it done, but I fear that it won't fix our immediate situation. What it will do is allow us better odds when the time comes for us to make our move.
Or, get rid of one and then worm our way in with, find out which one is the most amicable and pull on that thread, as it were.
Oh yes, we have multiple avenues of inquiry, but the issue now being that we don't know which of them to take. We don't know anyone on the ship.
And it's going to take more than a day, but I know I'm already thinking of things, and I'm sure you are as well.
Indeed. And he looks over to Edward and says, in common, how about you? Any ideas?
I got a couple rattling around. Right now,
Speak.
I'm more concerned about making a few friends.
Could
as
you
it were.
all please keep it down? Some of us are trying to get our beauty sleep. Fucking yammering on, speaking in that devil tongue.
All you'll hear is devil tongue before long if you don't shut your mouth.
I like this one. Oh, you hear that, lad? He's going to shut my mouth. The young boy. This
Oh, I thought that was Balian, not the gnome.
Oh, that's the gnome. That was gnome.
Oh, he just said it either way.
Yeah. I like that.
You're not even pictures.
Jack is the gnome kind of leans his hand over and hits Jack in his right shoulder, and Jack kind of flinches back and looks over to Edward as though asking like, what should I say? What's going on? Like he looks like a lost puppy dog that has found his savior.
Edward has.
Did you get a leech already?
What?
He looks at the look that the boy's giving you.
Oh.
Oh, with mention of leech, the boy slinks down even deeper into his like hammock and almost like cocoons himself.
We need allies, not dead weight.
Just. You know what? He's my responsibility.
And cocoons looking at
Look, and then just.
Eyes. And the way a team works is that you'll be mine once you get hurt caring for him.
Hey, all right, just. I know it's been a long fucking few days for everyone here, but you going at everybody for just trying to interact with others isn't going to get us very far right now. Boy, come here. And Edward has been taking note of his coat since he's been on here and how being dragged through all of Port Peril is just in shreds. So he is going to fashion the boy some wraps for his hands as well as make some for himself.
That's amazing.
And I would actually, just because Edward is just kind of, like he said to Cassius, he's just kind of trying to make friends, so to speak. Is the lady that I was rigging with, or not rigging, hauling with, is she down here, with the one with the horribly callous feet and the bruises and wounds?
Yes. Yes, she is. We'll switch her out for somebody else. I'd say yes. A little retcon.
Edward would have the back of his coat, the longer part. He would take what was left of that and he would just kind of toss it on, not at her like take it, but throw it on her bunk and just say, if they start to fester, use that. I have no need for it and there's no point in wasting it.
So they land like right on her shins. Kind of leans up, looks at them, looks over at you, kind of shakes her head, and then just with a quick flip of her right leg, the little pieces of fabric fly up and flutter down and land on the deck, and she just leans back and just gently rocks her top with the rolling of the waves. So I like where we're at here. I'd like to get a little more specific. So Caius, you wanted to attempt to influence, correct? No, sorry, Harlan, you wanted to influence, correct?
No, I don't think we ever got to it. He's gonna probably, after that conversation, he's probably gonna try and sleep.
Caius does want to try and say one more thing to Harlan.
Okay, go for it.
And he said in Infernal, if you can get one of the strings or two of the strings off that violin, I'm not very stealthy, but I don't know if you are. We might need to groat some people.
Wouldn't be the first time. As he drifts off to sleep.
What would we do with a drunken sailor? What would we do with a drunken sailor? What would we do with a drunken sailor? early in the... Shut up, my gods! Why are you singing a morning song in the evening, you wretched halfling cunt? And she says, fuck you, you gnome son of a bitch. And they both have a little back and forth. But, Caius, would you like to influence anybody? Or would you like to sleep? What nighttime action would you like to take?
What? He's gonna try and influence. He's gonna scoot down a bunk and kind of look at the violin woman and say, "What do you do here?"
I keep the mood of the crew tolerable.
Tolerable's a good word for it, I think.
Yeah, Edward. There would definitely be a snarky laugh from Edward. Just,
I hate to see what the crew's like without you here. Ugh.
Intolerable.
He'd nod and kind of flop over onto the, onto the hammock and just kind of begin to go to sleep.
And the woman with the red hair is kind of sitting up in her cot. She's got her tricorn hat and she's just kind of flipping it around. And she sees you sitting next to this halfling woman. And there's this nod of like almost approval. And I'd like you to make a sense motive check. Like maybe she's trying to tell you something non-verbally. That's enough. That is actually enough. DC 10 in my head because she's not being too subtle. She kind of like motions her head at the halfling and then gives you a wink. It's like the impression you're getting is like, get her on our side. You're getting the impression like this woman wants to be helpful and wants to join in. She hasn't really spoken much to you all. You've made a couple of little silly comments, but she is encouraging you like get up.
Yeah, Caius kind of cracks his eyes and says, "I wasn't up on the deck all day. What do you know how to play on that thing? Gnome be damned." Gesturing to the gnome on the other end of the ship.
And she kind of leans up and she says, "Are you making a request?"
if he's not, I will.
I'm about 1,500 miles from home. I doubt you know anything I know, but I'd like to hear something.
Try me.
He'd name a Chilaxian song.
He thinks for a moment. Can you hum it?
Yeah, he'd do it. Yeah.
How good
Probably
of
not very
a
well,
job
but
does he do? Is it like a little off key?
oh, probably.
All right. Kind of listens. He grimaces a little bit. Then I'm gonna have her give her a perform check here. See if she can hear it. 18.
Wow.
She starts to play. And I imagine Chilaxian music it's very formulaic, like it's very structured. It's like da 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 da. It's like
I'm thinking classical, yeah.
Classical music. Da 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 da. It's a little rough, but maybe she's watching you and she starts to play this kind of classical like music on the violin. It's a little rough at times. But she actually does a halfway decent job, and I'd like you to roll a diplomacy check here to see if you can influence her. I'm giving you a bonus because I like this RP.
No.
That was an 8.
Yeah.
That was an 8. Do you want to spend a hero point? Reroll.
You know what? I will.
Or just give yourself +4.
He'll re-roll it. I think I can do better than an 8.
That was dog.
No, I can't.
Wow. Yeah. So you play the song.
Wait.
Yeah.
Actually, sorry,
Yes.
I have a trait.
Okay.
I have a trait where I can take a 20 in a quarter of the time if I'm taking my time to do something. And we have unlimited time here, right? Could I have done that? But it's no big deal. I haven't done it yet. I just want to know if I can do that for future.
Take the hero point back. You could just take your time with this interaction. You have all the time of the night. You're not going to get any rest tonight, but luckily you weren't fatigued from the day, so you're totally good. But you spend the night chatting up this halfling bard, this halfling bard. You learn a little bit about her history, how she was actually born in Varisia. She traveled with some of the Varisian caravanners. Was sort of a land pirate for a while.
If anyone mentions the
those
term
bandits.
bandit, she says,
Yeah.
no. Land pirate. I was a land pirate.
I
Eventually,
can see that
took to the sea.
sells better in these areas.
It does.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. And
And
Well, Edward is just kind of interacting with the boy, just like,
Yeah.
and pirate. I don't remember that for when we're on shore.
Well, I mean, we had pirates that would just straight up, like, they wouldn't really attack as many ships, but they would straight up just like show up in a harbor, fuck shit up, steal stuff, and then piss off into the sea. I mean, that land
Oh, yeah.
piracy, that's a thing.
Edward just kind of gets a chuckle out of that.
Yeah. The boy doesn't really say much, but he listens to you with this very intent, very just like he's focused.
There's something that this kid kind of awakens in Edward that reminds him of his brother
With
a little bit.
With the nice interaction from Caius to Rosie has moved from indifferent to friendly. She's now considered friendly to the group and will potentially from time to time offer assistance or at least advice or wise words. Last but certainly not least, Edward, what are you doing this evening? You said you're chatting up the boy. Are you trying to perhaps turn Jack from friendly to help? Are you going to focus on somebody else?
I think right now, after pretty much just offering what was left of his coat and out loud saying, I've got no use for it and there's no point in it going to waste, and then it just immediately being brushed off by this lady, who Edward isn't exactly pissed at it. He just pretty much just gathers it back up and just goes, all right, whatever. I tried. Offers it to somebody else, and I think he just kind of is talking with this boy, Jack.
Oh yes. If you're giving those out still, my feet are incredibly sore. I would very much love to wrap my feet in this leather. It might help me in the morning. This is the elf.
It's not a leather coat. It was a lighter coat. He's not in a place
I
where
retract my request. Thank you, sir. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, this elf looks like a milk drinking landlubber. I gotta tell you.
Yeah,
a milk
he's
drinking landlubber. Oof.
He's going to throw them to what's left of the scrap. He's just going to throw that over to Harlan, and just says, "For your hands, if you need them." And then he's just gonna kind of talk to the kid and kind of explain, because this kid doesn't look like he's ever been on a ship. He's just gonna kind of try to be like, hey,
give you a special role here, Edward. Instead of diplomacy, I'm gonna let you make a profession sailor. Try to teach this kid some shit and maybe get him on your side. DC's a little higher than the diplomacy, but I think you've got a better chance of succeeding.
how's that?
Oh my god! Wow, what are you doing over there? You're just throwing him anything today. So Jack finally breaks his kind of silence, and he starts to ask questions about what does the bow mean? What does starboard? Like, this kid is green.
Yep.
And he starts to ask just everything you can teach him, and you've got yourself a little buddy. Jack moves from friendly to helpful, and he seems to be enamored and almost tied to Edward. Like, you've got yourself a little puppy. I mean, that is what we're going to describe it as. You got yourself a little buddy, and whatever you do, he's going to do it. And moving forward, whatever task you are performing, Jack is going to give you an automatic +2 to your checks. He is going to be helping you moving forward, and whatever you end up doing, he will assist you in that best possible way. And I think that's everybody for our first night aboard the Wormwood. I think that's everybody. You all kind of get some sleep, kind of don't. The only one that really regains fatigue, if you had it, is Harlan and Hakir, seeing as they rest and sleep the entire night. And in the morning, you guys rest, sailing. You feel the ship maybe at some point of the night start to kind of turn northwards a little bit more, like meandering a little bit. But in the morning, you're all awoken. Perhaps you just drifted off. Perhaps some of you are deep in sleep. But you hear the morning bell. It's the morning work bell. It's just ding, 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 ding. All hands on deck. All hands on deck. You hear this roaring of all hands on deck. All hands on deck. and you can hear this like running. You can hear all of these people moving their way up, running to the top deck, running to the top deck. And as we get to the top deck, we see a scene that looks a little bit, well, it looks a little bit strange. I'll explain to you what I mean by a little bit strange. There is a man who has been bound. Hands are bound in front of him. He's been gagged, and he's also been blindfolded. And he is currently strapped to the mid-mast of the ship. Scourge, who is this man here, and his kind of compatriot, Mr. Plug, are standing over by the wheel of the ship. They're just kind of eyeballing down, and everyone shuffles up. They're all kind of looking at this man that is currently strapped and tied and bound to the mast of the ship. As everyone shuffles in, they're kind of murmuring, "What's going on? What do you think has happened? What do you think?" I want to give you guys just a quick moment to give some perception checks. Please,
Mm. Oh, there it is. There it is.
So you
Job,
notice, you're the only one that notices this up here. But you notice that this man's hands that's bound to the mast, his hands are bloody. It doesn't appear to be his blood. Any cuts, scrapes. Be someone else's blood. The blood's slightly dried. But he's got blood on his hands. It's the best way I can describe it. He's got blood on his hands. Master Scourge makes a slow but methodical thud, 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 walks over. His left hand, he grabs the chin of this man. Do you all recall yesterday what our good captain said about, what was it? What was it, Mr. Plug? We've only got so many crew, Master Scourge. That's right, we've only got so many crew. The man kind of struggles a little bit. This man here was caught trying to, throws his face, the man's face kind of whips to the side, attempted to kill one of our own. Some sort of disagreement over gambling. And while I fully support each of you and every one of you in your downtime, though seldom to find enjoyment where you can, there will be no enjoyment. No enjoyment gained from the brutalizing of your fellow sailors. The man behind him with this blue bandana, you see he has what looks to be a broken nose, blood kind of dried on his face. He's got a cut across his brow, and he looks severely pissed off. Now each and every one of you is going to see what happens when you break the rules of our glorious vessel. Kill him. The man that is tied up. See this halfling woman move over. She's got thick, like almost like knobbly, like arms. She grabs him. This man that has cuts and scrapes on his face grabs him, and we watch as this man is unceremoniously dragged towards the bow of the ship.
Does the one with bloody hands also have injuries? Like significant injuries?
The one with bloody hands?
Yeah.
Yes.
He looks like he was in a fight, but he looks like he gave it worse than he got. Man,
So we're killing the strong one that won, not the pussy that lost.
You
Shut your fucking mouth.
Edward puts
They both fought, and the loser's getting to walk away. That's who you want at your side at the end of this.
He's gonna.
You see him start to uncoil his whip, and then without another word, whips it, striking Pius right across his face. You take 5 points of damage.
Shit, somewhere between an acolyte and a priest.
Edward looks over
Points.
back at Harlan and just says, "He's gonna get us killed."
That's a warning, dog. The man is struggling and struggling, and he finally spits out the gag. He manages to loosen it. And he says, "They jumped me! They jumped me! They jumped!" And then there is a toss. You hear a sploosh. And then you hear that telltale sound of a rope running over the railing of the vessel. That kind of noise. And you can hear this kind of thud, 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 thud. As a bunch of the crew, including Scourge, Mr. Plug, run to the back. And off the back of the ship, you see this kind of line of blood start to kind of drift out the back, almost like the boat itself is bleeding. And a few moments later, you see a tattered mass of flesh, bone. It looks to be a flayed man. Sort of bobble up, kind of sink below the water, bobble up, sink below the water, and then you see the body start to get pulled back. You hear that. There's a few crew members at the front of the ship starting to pull the body back underneath the vessel. And then you see them lifting. For the briefest of moments, you see this, what is only left of the man. He is tattered, scraped, bloody. His eyes are missing. Obviously, he is dead. You watch this man with the blue and the kind of bloodied looking lip, the broken nose. You see him lean over and whisper something to the man. And he cuts the line that was holding him. You hear a sploosh, and the man is gone. With that, Master Scourge turns to sort of railing up where the ship's wheel is, and he shouts, "And that's today's entertainment! Time for work!" That, my friend, where we're going to end session 1. Skull and Shackles. Job. Had an absolute blast. Hope you guys did as well. It was an absolute riot. Crazy. I didn't think you guys would gain an ally right off the rip. And, I mean, it's probably the most useless. He's literally a child. But he's also going to give you a +2 moving forward, which is not a bad thing. So did you guys have fun? Hopefully you enjoyed that. It was it was a good time. A little jaunty into it. Skull and Shackles, the first part is different than any other campaign that I've ever run. I've run this once before. It's a lot of just trying to find allies in the most unlikeliest of places. And the next couple sessions are going to be you guys just kind of interacting with some of the crew, getting to know them, asking questions. As you can see, there is a colorful cast, and I want to direct you all over to there's the officers. Candidly speaking, the officers, you're going to have a really hard time influencing them. You'll come to learn that these are the ones that are really the most dedicated to Barnabas, like his main crew. But everyone else is influenceable, as it were. Everyone else is influenceable, which is good. So other than that, as I always ask at the end of every session, any final thoughts, questions, comments, or concerns before we get ready to wrap up episode 1 or session 1?
Scourge has got to fucking go.
Oh yeah, we level 2, right?
You are not level 2. Get the fuck out. Who do you think you are? Level 2 my ass.
I wanted to ask, do you guys just want to do milestones for this? I forgot to ask that. I think we had
Yeah.
agreed on milestones.
Sure.
Awesome. Works for me. Well, gentlemen, as I always say at the end of every session, thank you so much to the players for playing. Without you, this isn't possible. Thank you so much to the viewers for viewing. If you're catching the VOD, don't forget to drop a subscribe, like, upvote the video. I don't know. Do whatever it is you crazy kids at home do. But in the meantime, happy gaming. Thanks for watching, and you'll catch these fine folks back here next Monday at around 9:30 p.m. Eastern to get this game rolling. And we'll see if they can gain more allies or perhaps maybe even some more enemies. I don't know if you have enemies yet. We'll find out. We'll find out. You've got a precocious gnome that finds you intriguing but also creepy. We'll figure it out from there. But that being said, good night.